Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, the Honorable Mr. Udi Samanudi, MPD, as a lecturer of Academic Speaking course. My name is Regina Dyah Sisiliana from class 3C. So I would like to doing a self-presentation about human trafficking. So human trafficking is all buying and selling transaction against humans. Human trafficking is the trade of humans for the purpose of forced labor, sexual slavery, or commercial sexual exploitation for the traffickers or others. Human trafficking can occur within a country or transnationality. Human trafficking is a crime against the person because of the violation of the victim's right of movement through coercion and because of his commercial exploitation. Human trafficking is the trade in people, especially women and children, and doesn't necessarily involve the movement of the person from one place to another. Human trafficking is the third largest crime industry in the world, behind drug dealing and arms trafficking, and is the fastest growing activity of transnational criminal organizations. The practice of human trafficking is like the concept of the market in general, namely because of the basic principle of economic supply and demand. For example, in the labor market that involve the practice of human trafficking, it can arise due to several backgrounds such as poverty, low education, and unemployment. According to the Interstate Commission for Juvenile, the crime of human trafficking has a systematic and structured concept. There are at least two main types of market in human trafficking practice, including the first is sexual trafficking. The International Labour Organization claims that forced labor in the sex industry affects 4.5 million people worldwide. Most victims of themselves in coercive or abusive situation from which escape is both difficult and dangerous. Trafficking for sexual exploitation was formerly thought as the organized movement of people, usually women, between countries and within countries for sex work with the use of physical coercion, deception, and bondage through forced debt. Trafficked women and children are often promised work in the domestic or service industry, but instead are sometimes taken to brothels where they are required to undertake sex work, while their passport and other identification papers are confiscated. They may be beaten or locked up and promised their freedom only after earning or through prostitution, their purchase price, as well as their travel and visa costs. The second is labor trafficking. Labor trafficking is the movement of persons for the purpose of forced labor and service. It may involve bonded labor, involuntary servitude, domestic servitude, and child labor. Labor trafficking happens most often within the domain of domestic work, agriculture, construction, manufacturing, and entertainment. And migrant workers are indeed those people are especially at risk of becoming victims. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, or UNODC, the flow of human trafficking can be categorized into two types according to the capacity and scope of the area. Namely, first is intra-regional. Intra-regional meaning that the origin of destination of victims of human trafficking are in the same area or the same sub-region, generally more difficult to detect the operation center. Victim tends to be trafficked from poorer countries to relatively more prosperous countries. The second is transregional. Transregional meaning that the origin and destination of victims of human trafficking are outside their territory or across region. The trade flows were detected in the rich countries of the Middle East, Western Europe, and North America. Victims usually come from regions that tend to be poorer, such as South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. So the government's effort to tackle human trafficking are as follows. The government strengthens security at the border. The government strengthens its laws and enforcement on human trafficking. The government cooperates with other countries, especially in the investigation and prosecution of human trafficking. So that's it about human trafficking. That's enough for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.